As the boss, we should be brave, establish a positive image, be decisive, and not give our subordinates the opportunity to react when abandoning them. We should be normal and use this to approach our goals. We should be cunning, have a flexible moral bottom line, and be friendly, so that we can deceive more people into becoming lackeys. These are all the tricks that Cat Linlin uses until the opportunity to explore the secret realm arrives. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Boss's Weakness Exposed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the foot of Mount Hulu, there is a forest land that is 30 miles wide and no one usually enters or exits, which is different at this moment. I saw a group of people and horses pressing down on 3 people 15 or 6 miles deep in the forest, blindfolded, looking like a family of old and young. There was no solemn atmosphere between the soldiers. Arrive at the destination. The leader turned his back and walked up the small mound, waving his hand to signal the other 15 people behind him to follow the plan. Looking up at the azure sky, the sunlight shone through the gaps between the leaves on my body. I feel that the bitterness and unbearable memories in my heart have been dissipated by the warmth of the sun, even though I know it's just an illusion. But what's wrong with being in the dark? The leader lowered his eyebrows and sighed, feeling that his consciousness had improved and his spiritual energy was running more smoothly. He couldn't help but think, I'm afraid the bald donkey who cultivates Buddhism is just like this. He felt regretful for his insightful investment. If these 3 people understood their mistake and joined the team, then today would be a complete day. Suddenly, the leader heard the sound of Hercules from behind. He realized that an unexpected change had occurred, and when he turned around, he saw the 2 of them lying in a pool of blood. Children who don't cry or make noise may not be afraid if they can't see. Me, he's a mother. The leader quickly pulled out his precious sword and used his coherent footwork to block the cold sword that had already crossed the child's neck. He drank. What are you doing? Rebellion. Everyone looked at each other in confusion. I asked you to tie them to a tree. What are you doing? Ah. The leader's veins erupted on his head, and the handle of the knife in his hand creaked. Boss, I heard you said we came here just to kill and bury, right? The bald man beside us, nearly 3 meters long and carrying a wolf-toothed stick, smiled boldly. Kill it too, bury it quickly. We still need to prepare for Islam. The wolf-toothed stick of a bald man is a rare treasure, with an indestructible quality. Watching the bald man's head reflect sunlight, it was very glaring, and my anger escalated even further. Looking back on the joy and happiness I felt when I took this person in, and the experience his words and actions brought afterwards, the 2 were like water and fire. It seems that reason is evaporating, killing intent is spreading everywhere, and the knife in hand is eager to try. The bald and strong man's cultivation has reached the late stage of the golden elixir, and he is only 1 step away from stepping on the Yuanying, becoming the demon head of over 60% of cultivators. So it can be understood that the bald man turned a blind eye to the killing intent of his boss in the later stage of building the foundation. In his eyes, although the captain often gets angry inexplicably, he never vented his anger on anyone. This makes bald men sincerely admire. After all, without a good liver and kidney, it is impossible. But he didn't forget that even if there were, ordinary people wouldn't be able to do it. At this point, his heart became even more determined as he followed the leader. However, from the indifference of the other 14 people, it could be seen that their daily lives were not good. The leader only wanted to say that this team was not easy to lead. The bald and strong man's face suddenly changed, waving his wolf-toothed stick and blocking 3 flying swords. Boss, a few golden pills and miscellaneous hair have arrived. What, how many are there? Bald, how many can you resist? The boss quickly regained his sanity and danced Tang Dao in his hand. Of course it's all about it, the bald man said as he fought back and forth with 3 flying swords, gradually gaining control of the battle. Flying swords are treasures that consume the master's spiritual power with distance. The essence of the magic weapon makes the boss know that the longer it is delayed, the more favorable it is for the battle situation. The flying sword material is special and closely related to the life of its owner. Once damaged or restricted by human hands, its owner's combat power is difficult to maintain. So, the owner usually ambushes nearby. Everyone, be vigilant. The enemy is not strong and there are not many people. The boss called out to everyone, be careful of their secret attacks, protect yourself and your children. The boss raised his sword and waited on the side to help the bald man. Boss, help me stop it, said the bald man as he swung his flying sword, took a deep breath, and infused his spiritual power into the wolf-tooth stick. He saw 2 deep footprints on the ground under his feet, and the wolf-tooth stick was now different from before, with tadpole-like runes circulating on the surface. The boss hurriedly approached and circled with 3 flying swords. Fortunately, Baldy used his spiritual power to destroy some of the connection between the plane and its owner when swinging, otherwise the boss would have died on the spot. With a thud, it was like a century-old tree falling to the ground, dust flying in the air. The bald man threw his wolf-toothed stick into the distance. Bald, what are you doing? The boss's face turned blue. Well, I can't hold on anymore. 3 flying swords dripped in front of the boss, and layers of sword light blocked the flying swords like shields. But it can be seen that the knife light is weakening, and if it takes another 3 to 5 seconds, the boss will still die on the spot. Enemies in the distance also feel the same way, but unfortunately, if we only make assumptions about the future or past, we cannot change reality. Faced with the incoming remote-controlled stick, the enemy did not persist. If we persist, the big stick will surely pierce into our hearts within 2 seconds, and perhaps we will scatter all over the ground. Thinking of this, they felt from the bottom of their hearts how right they had chosen the flying sword as their magic weapon. Flying swords are not only handsome but also fast. The latter can report their fate at critical moments, that's all. The ferocious stick pressed against the spine of the 3 flying swords, and the sword masters knew that the 1,000-mile embankment collapsed under the ant nest and covered nest, and there was a truth to it. Work together to block this massive blow. After throwing his wolf-toothed stick, the bald man secretly sneaked up to the side of a sword master under the cover of dust. Play a free throw and throw combination behind him. The sword master fell into a coma on the spot, although he looked miserable, he was not in life-threatening condition. This is the diagnosis given by the other 2. Originally, they lost 3-1, let alone 2-16. They could see that Bald was being merciful, so they surrendered decisively. Who would be willing to die if they don't die? With a bald man standing nearly 3 meters tall, he stealthily attacked the 1.8-meter swordsman from behind, without the need to torture the swordsman with a combination of throwing and free boxing. Capturing is harder than killing. Who are you and why did you ambush us? Standing on either side of the boss were subordinates holding flying swords, holding the last one in their own hands and slowly wiping the blade with a cloth, without looking at the sword masters. The sword masters were tied to the same tree without saying a word. Kill the bald directly. The bald man squatting next to the tree gave heartfelt advice and let out a heroic grin. He also made a practical move, lifting a wolf-toothed stick as thick as a bull high as he wanted to smash it. The sword masters felt the deep malice from death, with 2 pale faces and 1 pig's head swollen even redder, as if seeing the tree covered in their own flesh. Bald, stop it, don't be impulsive. The boss disregarded the empty spiritual power in his body and jumped off the stone he had brought. Hand the flying sword in his hand to the bald man, who stared at the boss inexplicably and said, "What's wrong? We've buried them here, and no one knows they'll die in our hands. Are you still afraid that the unjust ghosts will take their lives?" "You're really very clever," the boss stared at his bald head, but the reflection on the strong man's forehead deeply affected his face in the boss's heart. And I couldn't help but think of the husband and wife group who died unjustly. Although I knew it wasn't him who did it, a violent aura arose from my heart. Ha ha ha, boss, I thought it was true that you used to say I was stupid. The bald man let out a heroic smile. It turns out it's all fake, and you finally understand that everyone has limits. Ha ha ha. After hearing this, the boss didn't know what to do. I know where your limit is now, he said, holding a flying sword and looking at the red pig face. He fell into contemplation. Suddenly realizing something, he asked loudly, "Where's the child? Who saw the child?" Everyone looked at each other and said, "Don't look at the other person anymore, go find them. If you can't find them, keep looking. The child can't walk far." The boss paused, "Don't hurt him." "Humph, stop pretending," the red swollen pig face tied to the tree sneered, "killing someone else's parents and doing such words and deeds is really disgusting. Which parent would push their child into an abyss?" The boss walked up to the swollen pig face and said, "If they were the parents of that child, then they wouldn't deserve to die. The child would thank me. Don't use your ignorant knowledge to speculate on someone else's family matters," the pig face sneered. "You go ask the child if he agrees or not. He will definitely agree, or sooner or later, it's just a matter of time." The leader remained non-committal. "Don't talk nonsense. If a child loses parents, he will hate you to death." The swollen pig face seemed to be angry with the boss's attitude. "You killed his parents, and I want him to thank you." "Dream it," the swollen pig face spat fiercely. "Are you stupid? How could he hate me when I saved him from the abyss?" The leader looked puzzled. "If your parents treated you like this and I saved you, how would you feel? Think about it, is that the truth? Fart, you know, a hammer." The swollen pig's face roared loudly. 40 years ago, Warcraft invaded and many mortal gathering places were easy to eat. Do you know that? Have you experienced it? Do you know the pain? If you don't know, don't talk. Saying it will only add to the laughter. It's disgusting. I haven't experienced it before, but it's just a moment of death, and the pain disappeared in an instant, the leader said slowly. But if you enter the abyss, forget about my argument with you, let's find the child. The leader took out the vomit medicine bottle and said, "There are so many tragedies in the world, how can we just be safe? Leaving this world is a dream of mortals, so cultivating immortality is what all beings desire. It's fate that we are fortunate enough to meet here. I don't want to make it difficult for you. This is an anti-inflammatory medicine." At the mouth of a pig's head. The swollen pig's face stared into the boss's eyes and said, "You don't need the medicine anymore. Someone reported that you joined the demon cult. We came to investigate and found that you killed ordinary people, so we took the initiative. Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you just because I know these things?" The boss asked expressionlessly, "Also, I don't like being stared at by a pig's head." He then punched him in the stomach. Taking advantage of his pain, he opened his mouth and stuffed the pill in. Chapter 2. Coarse Performers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. "Don't try to spit it out for me," the leader said fiercely, gripping the swollen pig's neck. "Bald man, come help me." His voice echoed into the clouds, but no birds were startled. In less than a minute, the bald man arrived howling with strong winds and dust. "Boss, something strange has happened," the bald man said casually, seeming to be fully confident in his safety, unaware that his words and actions were in conflict. "There are no animals in this forest." "So, the child died in front of you?" the gloomy-looking boss asked. "Are you trying to say that?" The bald man leaned on his wolf-toothed stick and exclaimed, "Am I like this in your heart?" After thinking for a moment, he said, "Actually, this forest." Before the bald man could finish speaking, a blade of light came from below and up, dazzling people's eyes. Being nearly 3 meters tall makes the bald man invincible in close combat, especially since the leader's realm has not yet reached the golden elixir, and the enhancement obtained from cultivating immortals is far less than that of the bald man. This has led to the direct battle between the two, which has always ended in the victory of the bald man. However, humans have limits. Being unable to handle it head-on, backstabbing, traps, etc. are ways to demonstrate cunning. I already understand you, the strong man, who was laughing with great courage, seemed to have made a declaration of victory in advance. Look at me looking back and beheading. The flying sword was smashed and inserted into the tree next to the sword masters. What are you? How dare you disguise yourself as my brother? The boss swore confidently, as if he had caught the fox tail of the creature opposite him. Boss, don't talk nonsense. It's me. The strong man scratched his bald head and said strangely, you're not scared to be silly, are you? Look at the wolf tooth stick in my hand, I'm not going to lie to you, are you? Demon, you have already exposed your fox tail, the leader confidently flicked the blade with his hand. This is a forest, how could there be such a big dust? You must use your brain to deceive people. The bald man opened his mouth and said, it's not like I came all this way. Before the words could be finished, a blade of light overturned, cutting through the vital points and holding onto the face. Without further ado, the demon accepted it, and with a single punch, before using half of the 30.6 sword moves, he was deftly defeated with force. The bald man crouched down and the boss raised his face. The two gazes met, and there was something circulating in their eyes, as if puzzled or angry. Boss, there's something strange about this forest, the bald man pulled up the restless leader. He can influence people's emotions. Not bad, my self-control has decreased, the boss nodded and continued, what have you been affected by? Looking at the bald man's bald forehead, the desire to fill it with ink grew stronger. It's too bright, it's really despicable. I might, maybe, be even more prone to anger, the bald man said in a roundabout tone. I was really sorry just now. After speaking, he looked at the sword masters. Oh, why isn't the pig face swollen? Did you do it? Of course, it's not me or someone, the boss's face suddenly changed. Did he vomit the medicine just now? Did you see it? He pulled out his folded knife and slowly walked up to him. Oh my God, turn your face ruthlessly. Pig had heard their discussion on the side and realized that something was not going well. He struggled on the tree, you control yourself well, don't pay a price. You don't want to have a stomachache, do you? Don't keep looking at my stomach, you bastard. The sword master on both sides of the pig's head gave a suggestion. It's just affecting the creatures. We've been tied up, and whether or not we've been hit, the impact on you is minimal. Ordinary people had weak self-control when they were young, but now children are the most dangerous. It sounds reasonable, the leader inserted the knife back into its sheath and turned around. Bald man, stay here, I'll go see the situation. After not taking a few steps, Baldy followed up and patted his chest, saying, I'll go, you stay here, after all, I'm faster. So it's hard for you, the boss lightly hammered Baldy's chest, be careful of everyone, the bald man said with a smile on his face. You should be careful here, after all, I am stronger. He was about to hit the boss's chest as he spoke. Later, Bald, said the leader, grabbing the bald man's fist and pulling him towards the sword masters. Let's just keep an eye on them. I want to confirm something. After waiting for a while, the bald man didn't respond. He turned his head and saw that he was observing the surrounding environment, with a thought in his mind. Returning to the sword master tree, the sword masters looked puzzled. What happened? Has the child been found? What are you doing back? It's nothing, just let the bald man take care of you, the old man said with a smile. Haven't you noticed that your self-control has decreased? The pig-head sword master's face turned red. This brave warrior is a kind-hearted person. You should go together. Don't waste time, after all, everyone is burning high when picking firewood. You don't have to worry, the bald man sneered, seeming to have more emotional fluctuations. As long as you don't show any abnormalities, I won't kill you, by the way, and this tree. The three sword masters seemed to see their bodies turned into meat sauce, mixed with the remains of the century-old tree behind them, and couldn't help but turn pale. Besides the pig-head sword master, he is even more red. Don't worry, as long as you have any abnormalities, I will kill you at any time. The boss seemed even happier. I don't know if it's an illusion, but the three sword masters were uneasy and couldn't help but feel. The leisurely sky has hurt me so much. Will being tied to a tree also lead to anger? They were trapped in self-confusion, and under the ubiquitous influence of the forest, their thinking stagnated until the boss left. The bald man seemed to be muttering to himself. He noticed, yes, I need to play again. The replacement plan for the three sword masters has been cancelled. Yes, should I say it again? Grasping his head, the strong man's heavenly spirit was already hairless, but now he has furry long hair sprouting out, with a pair of ears on both sides of his head. The art style continues to collapse. Perhaps this is a part of the creature's own image. The surface of a living organism can be observed, but its interior may not necessarily be. Drawing a tiger from a cat is not about a cat. What we get from a cat is only its movements, demeanor, muscle texture, and more about the influence of the tiger in our hearts. The boss called along the way, trying to gather 14 people except for bald men. If nothing unexpected happens, 14 people will have an accident. The boss can only embark on the path of searching for the child alone. The boss frequently pulls out and retracts his knife, making a glinting sound while occasionally sneering. It seems like he is trying to control himself. The anxiety in his heart cannot be relieved by stopping beating, but pain and time can solve all problems. At this moment, that's what he thinks. Regardless of right or wrong, he gave advice. The latter cannot be controlled, while the former needs to be considered. The boss looked at his fare as a woman's hand and fell into hunger and thirst, licking his mouth. In the past, Buddha raised eagles with his own body, and the power of role models made the leader determined not to waver. Even if he sacrificed himself, he would not affect others. The main people who cannot be sacrificed, the three sword masters, bald men, and perhaps children, are innocent. As for the 14 people, haven't they disappeared? The absence of a body cannot confirm survival, but during the investigation prior to coming here, no homicide or disappearance cases were found. From this, it can be seen that there is a high probability that everyone will be able to survive, and there is no way to deal with small probability events. What joy is born, and what sorrow is death. Biting the palm, the pain temporarily frees the mind, psychology, or spirit from the meticulous influence of the forest, and suddenly clear thinking repeatedly calculates plans. At this moment, a burst of heroic laughter came from the side, and the figure of a bald man appeared in front of him. Boss, you finally came. I've been lost here for a long time. Are you sharpening your knife? It's really full of flaws. Bald people hate harsh sounds. If it's genuine, they will snatch the scabbard. Perhaps the influence in the forest changed the bald man's mood. The conclusion is that the person in front of us may be a fake, with a probability of 14 people temporarily not in danger of their lives. Although the bald man got lost and they knew it, he never got lost in the forest. He would run into a big tree to make sure he didn't turn back. The influence of the forest cannot change intelligence, can it? The conclusion is that the probability of the person in front of us being fake has increased, and 14 people may have confessed without being forced. Mood can change small details, and the old laughter at this moment is very sincere, as the saying goes, real but virtual, virtual and real. The party being played with is unknown without inspection. I'm walking alone, Cat Linlin. Who are you? Said the boss slowly pulling out his knife. Answer me. Watching the strong man in front of me cover his mouth but keep smiling. Bald people will never hide their laughter, he is heroic. The most important thing is that your mouth is too big and your hands cannot stop it. When faced with behaviors that affect your style and are unnecessary, bald people will never let them develop. But the crude creature in front of him laughed uncontrollably, his expression filled with a desire to stop and an unstoppable sadness. But for some reason, the sense of achievement that exposed his face disappeared, and his heart was filled with unknown disappointment. In order not to be laughed to death by the person in front of her in the upcoming plan, Cat Linlin decided to give up the plan. It has collapsed to the mouth of the sea, how can it be played? Do you want to play a solo role? The boss's unexpected remark killed the opponent's next scene, which is truly congratulatory to Coca-Cola. Ha ha ha, the crude creature in front of him let out a burst of pseudo-heroic laughter. Sorry, I didn't hear you clearly just now. What did you say? Faced with such a crude creature, Cat Linlin didn't want to compete with it again. But it's hard to give up on a grand occasion. With such hard work in group performances, how could Mao Linlin, as the male lead, give up halfway? Turning around decisively and looking back with a forced smile, he said, "We have such a good relationship, but have you forgotten me? Please answer me with your name." He, the vulgar creature in front of me had already exposed its essence, and it wasn't until I finished laughing that I realized my persona. Poor eyes looked at the boss, praying for another chance. Take a deep breath, don't get angry, the person who messes up is a crude unknown creature in front of you, why let your emotions be manipulated? After a moment of comfort and suggestion, Cat Linlin regrouped. I'm walking alone, Cat Linlin, the boss said with a polite but not distant smile, I'm here to ask for advice. Chapter 3. Respect for Teachers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Survival or destruction has never been a choice since ancient times. Cat Linlin has understood the truth since childhood that she is a living person. A similar sentence. Why sleep long before death? After death, one will naturally sleep long. Why die if you can live? How can living people understand the world of the deceased? After all, they will go sooner or later. Why not live happily before the living experience card expires? As if a big cat licking its wound and crouching under the ancient pine wood, the boss knew in his heart that it couldn't be avoided. Who could be blamed for his fragile heart? Looking up, the scabbard is right in front of me, as the saying goes. Carry a sharp weapon and generate killing energy. Should we take responsibility for our own brother's baldness, the group of 14 lackeys, and the unnamed reserve lackey children? King Gojian of you endured humiliation, endured hardships, and never regretted eating feces. And Wu Zishu whipped the corpse to avenge his shame. These are all victories achieved through the physical practice of our predecessors. So and so, but what can a mere sneer do to me? Taking a deep breath, the confident leader stood up and pulled his messy hair back to his head with his left hand. He took out a hair scarf from the 3x3x3 storage ring and tied it behind his head. Seizing the scabbard of the knife, turning around and walking away, he was buried under a tree in a haze. In his heart, he summed up. There are 2 confirmed indigenous people in this forest, one of whom is not to be feared, and the other's strength cannot be seen. The bald man is not around, and the strong indigenous people have not directly harmed or controlled themselves, indicating that they must have something to ask for. Analyze the geographical location of Lin Zi and his behavior before and after the strong indigenous people. The forest is ordinary, and even bandits cannot survive here. It should not be a battleground for any military strategist. Moreover, the 3 sword masters were tied to a tree without saying anything, indicating that in the eyes of most righteous people, this place is considered a deserted forest. So, is such a strong creature really indigenous? Approaching oneself is to understand oneself, and Cat Linlin recalls the people she has offended in the past, realizing that it is only after her death that she may see them again. It can be confirmed that it was not the enemy's fault. I don't know his identity, it's not the right path anyway. If the demon sects are of the same path, they will not take my life. A gentle breeze brushed past, while the sunshine remained bright. The boss understood that continuing his reasoning was futile. Although the conduct of righteous people varies, there are no good people in the demon sect. To the extreme is a saint. Since records began, bad realms have been repeatedly broken through, and abnormal phenomena have emerged one after another. Today, I'm afraid I'll broaden my horizons. Thinking of this, Cat Linlin bit his palm and the pain flattened his mood. The worst thing is to be buried here, I have no fear. The boss straightened his chest, his mind seemed to have taken it to the next level, and his spiritual power was surging around him. Sure enough, Grandpa, I have cast my pearls before my eyes. Walking on the path in the forest, although there are no birds chirping here, it is even more peaceful. It is really a good place for self-cultivation and self-cultivation. The influence in the forest makes people dare not slack off, and no one interferes with cultivation. If I grow old, I will choose this place to bury my bones. A strange sound came from behind the mound ahead. The boss takes a light step, holds the sheath with his left hand to prevent friction and noise, and slowly pulls out the knife with his right hand. The spiritual power did not recover much, and Cat Linlin cautiously retreated back. What makes a woogu sound? Cat Linlin doesn't know and doesn't want to witness it with her own eyes. All living beings will not make sounds inexplicably, unless it is unconscious or conscious disorder. The latter is more likely to be encountered in this forest. There is only one life, cherish it and strive to meet the bald man as soon as possible, and then leave with his talent of not getting lost in the forest. As for children, they can only rely on luck. Ha ha ha, a burst of noisy laughter echoed from the left. I found you again, boss. What are you hiding from me for? That mountain spring is sweet and delicious, and taking a shower is really comfortable. It's not like I told you I've never done it before. Wait a moment, don't expose your privacy about not knowing how to swim anymore. The boss shook the scabbard and made a sound. There's something behind the mound ahead, be careful. The bald man walked with a rumbling sound against the big stick, while Cat Linlin was guarding him, his footsteps still light and silent. In front of the mound, the bald man suddenly shouted, I'm up. Without looking at Cat Linlin, he pounced on the small mound and roughly looked, only to find that two dead bodies were doing push-ups. This is okay, I still need to exercise when I die. Do you want to go against the sky and come back to life? Bald men will never have the spirit of humility and will never wait for them to succeed. Take a deep breath, aim at the direction, jump up with force, and swing the stick towards one of the chests. Its momentum is like a towering mountain, which is true for the unfortunate, struggling corpse. With the sound of pang, it is like an immature watermelon shouting at the wild boar, and black-red plasma and water are all over the ground. The lucky corpse rushed towards the bald man upon seeing this, but he was not alone. A bright light appeared in front of the lucky corpse, like a shooting star brushing across the ground, and his head and raised arms were cut off. He's a grandmother, the strong man said to Cat Linlin with a disdainful expression, so weak. If I had known you had come, this dirty blood would have splattered all over me. Thank you so much. Your spirit of humility has risen again, the boss chuckled in a raised voice. Hee, boss, you're a real woman. Shit, you, kicked the lucky corpse without a head or hands. Bald, is this the sound that this thing makes? Cat Linlin squatted down and wiped the knife clean on it. The bald man clung to his bloody wolf-tooth stick and wondered, I'm not sure, maybe the deceased will make a sound when doing push-ups. Don't talk nonsense, be careful of the surroundings, there may be danger. The boss picked up two heads and buried them in the pit smashed by the bald man. Boss, you're not really afraid of the vengeful soul taking their lives, are you? The bald man observed the commotion around him. The old general wiped the blood stains on the lucky corpses and said, I didn't find any energy on them, but these things actually started moving. To prevent them from causing trouble again, I buried my head. Boss, you're so kind, the bald man said with a smile. Don't argue anymore, one of them is broken. If all of this can happen again, your actions have betrayed you. You're really careful, Cat Linlin said, I'm just casually doing it. As the saying goes, a sage has no constant teacher. Every lesson can bring experience. After Mao Lin and the bald man left, a short man emerged from the mound. It's really unlucky that this kind of demon disciple was met by my mother, she turned out to be a child in the trio. She looked at the wreckage on the ground and said, a bunch of scumbags. Expose me before death, and you can't help me after death. If you still want strength, go to hell. A hand caressed the child's head, and in an instant, her restlessness dissipated. It's over, I've been caught. The child seemed to see the fate of being nurtured as an RBQ in the future, and tears welled up in anxiety. A face appeared in front of the child, opening its mouth as it was about to speak. The girl interrupted him and said, if you catch me, I will recognize you. I will be your person from now on. Please take pity on me. Cat Linlin crouched on the ground, looking straight at the pretty girl, not knowing what was going on. Am I looking very creepy? The boss thought he should say something. How could that be? You're quite handsome. Looking at the little girl forced to smile in front of him, the boss thought it was a lack of education. And consider whether the educational equipment should be a belt or bamboo silk. Judging from her short stature and delicate skin, she decided to use bamboo silk instead. After all, using a belt may take her away, and using bamboo thread not only saves effort but is also cheap and easy to replace. The girl noticed the young man in front of her and stared closely at herself. Feeling unable to be intimidated by his aura, he responded with an angry glare. The young man stood up, turned his hand behind his back, and said, from today on, I will be your master. You must respect your teacher and respect your teachings in the future, and not be naughty, otherwise it will be a beating. After a pause, he glanced at the girl. Seeing her face shocked, there was no objection. So I felt delighted to have obtained a new dog leg. Continuing, my surname is Mao, my name is Linlin, and my characters are complete. You will call me cat teacher or boss in the future, do you understand? The little girl looked surprised and puzzled by her intentions. Instinct does not believe that such good things will happen in the world, but after being caught by the enemy, he wants to become my master. My mind was in chaos, and the next thought came back. Curious and strange, are you called Mei Linlin Xianxia? The boss raised his face and created a solemn atmosphere. Both are my nicknames, please take them from my big name. His gaze was fixed on the girl. The little girl disliked such explicit and lascivious eyes, and a sentence flashed through her mind. It was a phrase she occasionally heard while wandering in the market, it's better to rely on oneself than on heaven and earth. Women rely on their looks to conquer men and gain everything from them. It was really reasonable. When the person in front of her was mesmerized by me, the old lady took his life like pulling a peach out of a bag, and killing him was more like crushing an ant with her hand. Thinking of this, the girl felt happy and refreshed, and the person in front of her was just a stepping stone on the path of her life. Just call out to the teacher, just treat it as your hard-earned money. The boss lowered his head and looked at the arrogant little thing in front of him, thinking to himself, did I say something wrong? Her hometown doesn't treat teachers as servants, does it? How uneducated is this? So he put on a stern face. A solemn and murderous aura rushed towards her face, and the little girl panicked. Did it expose, Master Mei Linlin, she suddenly realized what she had said. Joy, cola, and joy gushed out from the heart, intertwined with the exposed panic, repeatedly washing through one's own nerves. After hearing a faint smile, the little girl fainted. Hurriedly hugging the unconscious girl, holding her with one hand, taking off her robe and placing it on the ground, slowly lowering the girl down. Turning to the guarded bald man, he asked, did I be very aggressive just now? Why did she faint? The strong man held his wolf-tooth stick and scratched his head, saying, is it the reason for this forest? After all, I was influenced by it during the golden elixir period, let alone children. Nonsense, she has already built the foundation for the first phase, how could she be so miserable? Huh, boss, it's impossible for me to understand the feeling of the construction period, after all, it's too vegetable. Chapter 4. Where in the world has the double perfection method? You are listening at novelfull.audio. I'm sorry, you said this in front of me. Cat Linlin held a precious knife in his hand. With a fierce momentum, he tried to stare at the bald man's face. It's so shining, I can't bear to look straight in the eyes, I can't even speak harshly when looking at someone else's face. Let's start from the heart. But the loser doesn't lose the formation, I will eventually win the elixir, but you can't build the foundation again. I still think the golden pill is good, the bald man leaned on a big stick. The stick is covered in blood and I don't want to touch it. You come on. Well, the boss is a weak chicken, and he can't even praise him. When Loli woke up, it was almost dark. Opening your eyes, what you see is the scene before you. The distant bald head shimmered with the color of dusk, its radiance echoing with the sky. The wolf-toothed stick, which had been wiped clean at an unknown time, was placed in front of him, and the bald man sat on the ground, swallowing the surrounding spiritual energy with the golden pill in his body. The surrounding land is reflected with golden color, which looks like Arhat is alive. Why is it not Bodhisattva or Buddha? Because anyone who has seen him thinks there is a malevolent aura between his eyebrows and eyes. As for why does Cat Linlin think he is foolish, this is a secret, where did that man go? Loli was full of doubts and searched around. Finally, I saw him on the tree behind me. Feeling Loli's gaze, the bald man walked over and stopped Loli's call to Cat Linlin. Looking at the bald head entwined with evil energy, even if he just placed his finger in front of his mouth, he was still afraid of being beaten, and Loli dared not even move. The bald man approached the tree and knocked on the trunk. The Cat Linlin stretched lazily like a waking cat, but before his consciousness returned, it turned into white blood and ran towards the bald man. The bald man slashed open with a single blow and hit Cat Linlin's chest, but Cat Linlin didn't make contact with him and took a step back. Loli looked at the two of them soaring up and down like butterflies in front of her. Should we run now? The girl is foolish and eager to try. Unfortunately, fate's chariot is easier to get on than to get off. Loli embarked on the path of cultivation for the sake of strength, and today she will also have to embark on the path of apprenticeship due to her strength. The bald man often clashed with Mao Linlin, who was already familiar with his methods and relied on his level advantage to avoid defeat. Swinging the knife, he was sure he would jump backwards, and rushed forward while he was still standing, tripped him with a sweeping leg. We can go out now, the bald man pulled up someone who was like waking up from a dream. The child has woken up. It seems that I can't accept old age. I didn't notice when the child woke up. This is really unacceptable. After standing up and handing the Taoist robe to the cheap master, Loli didn't know what to do. Seeing her predicament, the boss handed the knife to Loli and said while getting dressed, "Didn't you say it? Call me boss." "Boss," Loli responded. "I wonder why there is a man named Mao Linlin who is good at both, but why is a big name not as good as a small one? Urgent matters take power, and now I don't ask you to bring me apprenticeship tea. You can offer me your knife," he said, taking the knife in his hands. From then on, fate was established. Touching Loli's head, he asked the strong man, "Have you seen something dressed up as me?" The strong man said, "I can tell at a glance that he's a fake, after all, they can't imitate your anger, just like a paper tiger that can be pierced with a single thrust." After hearing this, Cat Linlin completely calmed down. The strong man had already spoken his name in his words, and bald man was indeed thick and thin. "Let's go. Don't care about those 14 people anymore. Just an unlucky person who is greedy for cheap things." The boss's heart remained calm. It's hard for the king of hell to persuade anyone who should die. Damn it all, they have to die. After all, they have been with you for so long, don't you want to save them? I won't put my close friends in danger for the sake of outsiders. Do you want to save them? Cat Linlin played with her. When have you been so kind? The bald man touched his head and smiled. After all, I was born with the Buddha. Sigh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Cat Linlin picked up Loli and explained, he's going to run into a road later, and you're short-legged and can't keep up. After listening, Loli's face turned red and she knew she had a subconscious inclination. After all, the bald head is still on the side, and the cat master craftsman wouldn't be so abnormal. If the cat master knew the idea of Loli lying in his arms, he would definitely sneer and say, in the eyes of perverts, today's self must be better than yesterday's coward. That's right, once they become abnormal, they will see weaker abnormal and non-abnormal as a manifestation of not daring to face their inner cowardice. So the question is, does Mao Linlin dare? We don't know about this. Just a moment, everyone. Countless dots of light drifted like fireflies from all over the forest, converging into a beautiful woman who was not dressed but not exposed. Don't you want to save your companions? Loli wrapped her arms around the master's neck and turned her head to look at the beautiful woman in front of her, who was wrapped in vines and had only a visible face. She asked, Sister, do you want us to rescue you? Fool, this is obviously the owner of this place, Cat Linlin said angrily, looking at Loli. Boss, can you let me down? Loli lowered her head, pitiful. Fool, this place is dangerous and unknown. What do you want to do down here? Damn it. Only fools talk about fools. I'm not feeling well, let me down quickly. Humph, why are you talking about yourself again? Are you trying to be cute to me? Cat Linlin said fiercely, you've built a foundation, but you can't control yourself. Even if you have urine, hold it in for me. Let's wait until you go out. The unnamed indigenous people looked at the two and sighed that they really hit it off. Although they didn't know each other for a long time, they didn't have any connection. I don't care about Mao Linlin's malicious speculation, because she heard the older generation say that the world is the most complex. I have no ill intentions, she said, pressing the aura of crossing the calamity period on the two of them. The little girl was too weak, and she deliberately let go. Surprisingly, Mao Linlin was not stunned. Even the bald man was startled, and his heart was even more hopeful for Mao Linlin. I want to explain to you that this is just a trial, and you passed it, so there is a reward. You induced the death of that man and woman, right? Cat Linlin asked a question. But I have already come to a conclusion in my heart, but I just want to seek more benefits from it. No, 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 the unnamed indigenous person quickly explained, the moment you walked in, the trial began, and we can't blame you. Unexpectedly, it's really unexpected that the act of seeking benefits was successful from the beginning. A good start means half the battle, is it still far from complete success? The actions of the unnamed indigenous people shocked Cat Linlin. Is the intellectual growth of these non-human beings showing a leap? Her own life and death were in her hands, and she even explained without setting aside the responsibility. If she thinks this action can make her let go of her guard, or sympathize with her, or want to turn enemies into friends, then Cat Linlin can conclude that the intelligence of this unnamed indigenous person is increasing in a reciprocating manner. When the time comes, we will return to the early childhood stage, take retreat as progress, and gain greater prospects. At this moment, it is the period of placental growth. Otherwise, it would be difficult to explain how the creatures that crossed the tribulation period overcame one difficulty after another to reach their current state. Cat Linlin is struggling with whether to extort her or not. She may have asked us for help, but the indigenous people who helped to cross the tribulation period are beyond her ability, and the possibility of her seeking help is very small. But expecting her to have common sense is not advisable. However, without common sense, there would be no lack of intelligence. She would never seek any help from us who are not as good as her. Cat Linlin made a conclusion. Moreover, extortion can leave a bad impression, and rewards may be lost, but success can lead to greater rewards. If a person does not die for themselves, the heavens will punish the earth. If a person dies for wealth, it indicates that they have a deep-seated evil. How many brave warriors can know that gambling is not good and resolutely refuse it? I want everything. Mao Linlin felt relieved as she looked at the unnamed indigenous person's expression. I'm sorry, we crossed the line. Because of you, we lost 2 people, and we need more rewards to make up for the loss. Although I don't know what she will come up with, as long as she dares to take it, I dare to say it. That's not enough, I want more. What losses do you have? Those 2 people haven't joined you yet, and they were killed by your own people, said the unnamed indigenous person, looking at Cat Linlin with a strange gaze, as if looking at a mentally disabled person. Why are you so righteous? Can you tell me? After speaking, her interest grew even higher, like a princess waiting for the drama to open, staring at Cat Linlin with curiosity and thirst for knowledge. Me, I'm special. Are you saying these things earlier? Is that interesting? Very good, I can see that you have gained joy, but don't look at me like a clown. Believe it or not, I will show you autism. I thought I had achieved great success, but I didn't expect my intelligence to be insulted. I feel so ashamed and want to die. It turns out that the person in the placental growth stage at this moment is me. Cat Linlin's face changed unpredictably, giving the unnamed indigenous people an extraordinary visual feast. So, today is so happy, it's the happiest day we've had for a long time, so the reward we're giving you is 300 years of exploration time in the secret realm. After speaking, she felt proud, like an indigenous princess waiting for praise. Can you answer a question for me? Cat Linlin felt powerless and buried her face in Loli's hair, feeling ashamed to see anyone. He ignored the rising body temperature and unknown murmurs of Loli, and fell into self-execution. The spiritual vibration emitted a sound. We want to know what the secret realm is. The secret realm is the wreckage left by the vanished world, containing the heritage of the vanished world, said the unnamed indigenous people. So rewards need to be fought for by ourselves. No, we're just giving you time to explore the secret realm. Didn't we make it clear? So what did we get? It's just unknown knowledge and unknown adventures. Can't these satisfy you? I'm really sorry that I'm a mediocre person. I only saw the unknown danger, and to be honest, we don't need this kind of reward. If you pass the trial, I will let you in. Your seniors have all gone in, and you must also go in. The indigenous people firmly listened to the words of the poor dagger in this picture, and Cat Linlin couldn't help but hold on to Loli, thinking of countermeasures. Loli protested in her arms, "You loosen up, let go of me, I'm panting, I can't breathe, I'm panting." Chapter 5. Caring for and educating her. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Cat Linlin impatiently opened her arms and sneered, "Fool, your constant speech has caused even less oxygen in your body. You should hold your breath and struggle hard, not spend your energy on meaningless protests. Action is more effective than language, understand?" Loli turned her head and didn't want to look at Cat Linlin anymore. "Don't let me get a chance, I'll take your dog's life sooner or later. Even if I can't kill you, I will make you lose half of your life." Loli made a poisonous oath in her heart. Cat Linlin gave up the struggle. The opponent was an old and immortal monster, but it didn't make sense to continue. "Can you make us a clear ghost before embarking on the road?" "It's not a related issue, I won't tell you." "Did you kill the other 14 people I brought?" "We thought you didn't care about them." "They were scared out by us, maybe they thought you were dead." "The last question, who are you?" Cat Linlin pondered for a while and asked. "We are monsters in the secret place, and the entrance to the secret place is our home. Because our sisters have 2 souls, I'm called Xianxia." "Okay, I'll send you on the way." Xianxia waved to follow. A bald and strong man, by Joey still looked heartless, carrying a wolf-toothed stick and following up. Loli lowered her head and followed Cat Linlin, unsure of what she was thinking. Cat Linlin took Luo Li's hand and said, "You can't escape. Don't think too much. With us accompanying you, you won't be alone on the road to Huangquan." After a while, Xianxia stood still and arrived at the destination. "Isn't this the place we've been to?" After watching the struggling corpse and lucky corpse on the ground, his face changed and he shouted, "What are your intentions?" After lifting his breath, he used his fate to turn his spiritual power. At this moment, Cat Linlin quickly grabbed him, looked up at his face, and said seriously, "Bald man, don't do this. There is still a glimmer of hope. This doesn't look like you, don't you resist." Cat Linlin bit her tongue hard and thought for a moment before saying, "I'm sure." She wiped the spilled blood off her sleeve. After finishing, he put down his stick, touched his head, and smiled, "Then I'll accompany you on a journey." Zishuangzu's spiritual power surged around her body and she said, "Get ready," as the substantial spiritual power surged from all directions like waves. Cat Linlin opened her eyes wide, tightly but painlessly holding little Loli's hand. "Oh no, I don't know the name of my first disciple yet. How can I call her on Huangquan Road? It's a pity to end up with just one. Even though it's a foolish person with good fortune, I dragged them to death together. If we had just cooperated with him to resist, with his good fortune, we might have survived." In an instant, Mao Linlin thought a lot in her heart. The wave of spiritual power washed over me, causing my field of vision to quickly shrink. Everything around me shrank slightly, and before I let go of my hand, everything around me suddenly darkened and lit up. At this moment, only my disciple and master stood hand in a narrow cabin. "Boss, your breath seems to have changed." "Well, I broke through. Congratulations to the leader for achieving the golden elixir." Same joy," Mouth said, but there was no joy on the face. Everything became a foregone conclusion, and one still had to look forward. "The spiritual energy around me is thin, which means it is difficult for me to replenish. The newly acquired golden pill slowly nurtures spiritual power, and after a careful feeling, I understand why I feel weak in building a foundation. Now, I can stand still and use one hand to knock down yesterday's self." Upon observation, it was discovered that the house was extremely rudimentary. A bed measuring 2 meters by 0.6 meters meant that the inhabitants of this world were not very large and could pose a threat to them with their own knives. "Let's relax a bit." Suddenly, familiar language and the sound of firecrackers came from outside. Learning language in the original world was extremely cost-effective, and in order to broaden his horizons, Mao Linlin learned all mainstream languages. Compared to non-mainstream languages, mainstream languages are less in quantity and more concise. The faint sound coming from here means to save lives. Could it be that there are also Nian beasts lurking here? What a terrifying monster, still active in such a sparse spiritual world, worthy of its legendary name. Mao Linlin thought casually and decided to go out and see the situation. The instruction said, "My disciple is waiting here. I will be back soon, remember to be careful. Push the door. The door is locked. Very good, let's wait and see what happens before we talk. I'll also take the opportunity to fill in the spiritual power." Cat Linlin stood and settled in. It seems that nothing can shake his heart. Xiaoyulai blinked and ran lightly behind the door, listening attentively to the outside world. About 15 minutes later, Xiaoyulai ran back to Mao Linlin and whispered in her ear, "There's something coming, more than one." Cat Linlin turned her head and looked into the eyes of Loli, who was close by and asked, "Do you understand what they're saying?" "Well, I'm actually very easy to learn," she said as she stepped back and looked at the iron gate. Cat Linlin didn't understand why Loli blushed. Learning is a virtue. Is there any harm in this that she didn't know? When life cannot be guaranteed, she is still shy. Did she fall in love with herself? But her age is not enough to secrete hormones, isn't it? Mao hasn't grown up and started dating. When Cat Linlin was lost in thought, the door was opened. Lala, the path of freedom has been paved under your feet, and as an envoy, I congratulate you here. It seems like I just saw Loli leaning against the wall on the side. And this young lady is back in the ranks of everyone, applaud. As everyone behind him was about to applaud, the eccentric dressed man suddenly picked up his weapon and pressed the switch upwards, banging twice in a row. The crowd trembled with fear. The power is good, Cat Linlin calmly concluded. What is this? It's so magical. Loli asked, and seeing that the inhabitants of this world were not much different from the original world, she let go of the stone in her heart. If there are any drops of water pierce through stones. All things in the world are absurd because they cannot be compared with all objects, and the strongest shield cannot exist. Perhaps God created things by rolling dice, but is his dice necessarily unchanging? If so, who has seen it? Eternity is the patent of the Creator. This is a real gun, hasn't the child seen it? The strange-dressed man's face was painted with various dramatic patterns, exaggerating his mouth and eyes, and foundation make-up covered the whole face, making it difficult to distinguish his true colors. Our family won't give children weapons, Cat Linlin interrupted the man's inquiry. Yo, I'm in a hurry. I don't care how you appeared in a single cell, nor do I want to know where you come from or what you've done. From today on, you've recovered from the Woodville Mental Hospital. I'm your new dean, and from today on, we'll bring hope to this human society as Santa Claus. Correspondingly, we'll also bring equal and moderate amounts of fear. Let's fight together in the dark night before dawn, testing whether this city is qualified to continue to maintain its cleanliness and corruption. Now, let's welcome the last 2 patients to be discharged. With an impassioned wave of his hand, it was as if a conductor had made way for the master and apprentice. At the same time, there was a loud gunfire in the hospital, and a strange cry overshadowed the gunfire. In the distance, a police bell could be heard, but Cat Linlin could hear it approaching at a faster speed than a mortal. Mao Linlin picked up Loli and walked out the door. The people standing in the hallway saw the cute Loli appear, with whistles echoing one after another, perhaps not just targeting Loli. Being abnormal is too dangerous, especially when he is interested in you. Although they were some ordinary people, their gaze made Loli afraid and she lay her face on the master's neck, secretly looking at the so-called dean. The only one who can make a pervert willingly submit is a higher-level pervert. This made little Loli, who originally didn't like the dean's graffiti face, feel scared. Mao Linlin responded with the sharp gaze of the perverts, some of whom restrained themselves. However, their whistles did not decrease, and they silently jotted down a few more enthusiastic ones in their hearts. Turn around and take a few steps back to make your debut. The dean danced out of it, indicating that he was very excited. Say loudly, let's head towards another destination, it's decided, it's the 4th hospital. The perverts roared out of the hallway, and Cat Linlin hugged Loli and followed up. Leaving the dean alone dancing in the courtyard, sometimes dancing alone and sometimes spinning in the air, gazing affectionately ahead. The song quickly ended, and it was evident that the dean was very experienced in this area. The next second after the bus driver started the engine, the dean walked slowly onto the bus. When the dean is self-congratulating. Cat Linlin found that half of the seats in the bus were tied with hostages. The perverts pushed the back of the bus up, causing it to bounce back and spread out high. The patients walked in one by one. There were more than one bus on site, and Cat Linlin found a patient with fewer patients to sneak in. After entering, she found that there was a hostage next to each patient. Mao Linlin seemed to have some understanding and walked over to a young woman hostage, sitting down and placing Loli on her lap. With the sound of the engine, the buses lined up neatly and drove out of Woodville Mental Hospital. A series of loud noises came from behind, indicating that the hospital had been bombed out. Speaking of which, I don't know your name yet. Cat Linlin held lowly in her right hand and supported the empty back seat in front with her left hand, Wang Rupen. Boss, my name is Hongyi. Can you put me down? I won't go far. Although I can't see Loli's face, I can still see her nervousness from her body. Didn't it be agreed upon at that time? Cat Linlin showed a mischievous expression, lowered her head close to the head of red clothes, and slowly exhaled hot air through her nose to spray on her ears. My heart was beating faster, and I hated myself for not being good enough. I took a deep breath and forced a smile back. Boss, don't joke. How can we do this between master and apprentice? Did you send me apprentice tea? Don't be polite to me, it's just a pot of meat. If you put in more effort, it will be cooked. She said, exhaling a longer hot breath into her red ear. How could there be such shameless, despicable, and annoying scum in the world? Hongyi expressed that she had broadened her horizons and made a decision in her heart. She forced a smile and turned around to find that Cat Linlin was secretly laughing without concealing her bad taste. A mouthful of malice gushed out from the heart, seizing the opportunity in biting into the neck of Cat Linlin. Cat Linlin felt pain and said, "You unworthy disciple, let go and let go." Chapter 6. The unknown is not mysterious. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Carefully feel her efforts to bite. Wait until Loli finishes venting. The boss relaxed his arms to ensure that she didn't feel uncomfortable in his arms and withdrew the knife from the storage ring. If anyone asks, just say that this is a family trick and it will not be passed down. 8 people approached with fear, as it was common for terrorist organizations to have their superiors kill their subordinates. The 3 teams of people silently dying in the car are the handwriting of the person in front of them, and their fear can be understood. The captain of the 8 handed over 2 Wei Chong and a thin roster, saying, "Our team belongs to logistics on the last page, and you have seen the other 3 teams as well. The person in the car who came with me. Your Highness and Wisdom. Take the roster and a pair of Wei Chong to Hongyi, and put the other Wei Chong directly into the storage ring." Looking at the surprised expressions on the 8 people's faces, he said, "This is a family trick that cannot be passed down." The captain apologized and said, "Your Excellency is joking." Red Clothes patted Cat Linlin's shoulder and gestured towards the roster. "Boss, upon closer inspection, isn't the person in this photo the captain?" "Oh, my name is Didiao." This should be a homophonic sound, it's really impressive. "Sir, if it's okay, let's set off." "Where are we going?" "Woodville Mental Hospital." Mobilizing spiritual power, a fierce anger rose in his heart, and he secretly prepared. Wasn't Woodville Mental Hospital bombed? Have you ever heard the saying before that there must be demons in the face of a country's downfall? In fact, we are going there to eliminate anomalies. Sensing the ill intentions of the person in front of us, the captain quickly said, "Although it is dangerous, there are also good things." Cat Linlin silently took out Wei Chong from the storage ring and threw it to the ground. Seeing this, Hongyi no longer held a roster with Wei Chong. Looking at the things on the ground, the captain was puzzled and said, "Sir, what does this mean?" Huamian is clearly the leader. Although his words and actions are abnormal, they are logical. The focus of his words and actions is only on this city, or on this city at night. As you pretend to be his lackey, the focus of your words and actions is on the entire region. Do you think it's okay? Cat Linlin held Tang Dao in his hand and hugged his red clothes tightly. If it weren't for knowing that there was nowhere to go in the world, we wouldn't have exposed him. Staring closely at the captain's actions, anger surged into my heart, slowly squeezing into my thoughts. The proportion of fighting in the idea increases, but the awareness of protecting the red clothes is still in the first sequence. "Tell me the truth, and I'll tell you the truth about this place, one at a time," said the captain. "The amount of information you mentioned is too much, which does not match your persona and conflicts with your name. To be honest, As a miscellaneous fish, you've said too much. I'm not satisfied, so I'll give you a try. The captain shook his head and sighed, we're not enemies or friends. I've seen two parallel destinies, and if you don't agree to my demands, I can pay the price to drive you away. But adults, your end will be in this thing. The captain said, taking out a fierce aura from Mao Linlin's body, indicating, don't worry, according to the rules, I won't hurt you. He let go of his hand, and the fierce aura rushed back onto Mao Linlin, his face expressionless as if he already knew. We all know that this thing harms us. It's a pity that we didn't cheat out the name of that thing. Which one do you choose between the end point of the villain and the knowledge to prevent malice from harming the body? The captain was mysterious and unpredictable, with the surrounding environment turning white at the top and black at the bottom. Is the environment a suggestion? Or is it your rule to choose between two? Cat Linlin frowned. The red clothes in my arms looked inexplicable, I don't know what the situation is. So suddenly, it also has something to do with oneself. You guessed everything right, the captain chuckled and gave a thumbs up. Cat Linlin looked up at the sky, with white above and black below. This is for me to choose white. Since ancient times, the main focus has been on the good, while the main focus has been on the bad. So, which one is good and which one is bad between the endpoint of the red dress and the prevention of anger and harm to the body? He hinted to me to choose, is it to help me or harm me? He said earlier that he couldn't hurt me. Wait, where is the truth about Chen No? Damn it. You want to default on the debt. Boss Mei Linlin glared angrily at the unidentified person in front of him. Only children do multiple choice questions, me, both of them. Angry and restless indicate not taking the blame, who knows? Watching the individual in front of me fall into autism while holding Loli, leaving only the consciousness to protect Loli. I am speechless, as if the game is coming to an end just as I am about to kick the door. The time for my own birth is approaching. Damn it, breaking the rules is to maintain the dying universe. The opportunity to turn things around is right in front of me, I'm not willing to accept it. So the unidentified body smiled and said to Loli, if it were you, what would you choose? The reason why humans are foolish is because of ignorance. Although the fate of this villain is poor, it is still acceptable as it is just a jump off the platform. Can you tell me what to choose? Loli looked innocent. Little one, I am here to listen to your end, or to distort this person's fate. You, make a choice. The unidentified body is solemn and dignified. Listen to my end. Why should I listen? What are the benefits? Don't you want to change your destiny? The unknown body activated the perception magic. The little one really didn't know the meaning of this matter, and this wave stabilized. What is fate, so familiar, time is approaching and it's not enough to explain. I don't know the proper form, but I don't know that a red-clothed person who has been wandering in the market since childhood is not qualified to think about fate. Otherwise, if I explain it from the beginning, it may be possible. As someone who knows everything in this world, I was defeated by ignorance. It's ridiculous. The unknown body slowly turned into bubbles and lost its human body. It is undeniable that these two humans have repeatedly thwarted their plans. What a surprise. As a reward, let my gaze linger on you for a while longer. Red E looked at the master craftsman and shook his body vigorously. Boss, hurry up and see him soar. Cat Linlin felt hurt while protecting Red E. His malicious gaze came from the bubble in front of him, and he took out clothes from the storage ring to cover Red E. Red Clothes was startled and blindfolded. Does the master want to imitate the master of the Xianxia sect? I fell into a pink fantasy for myself, doing this and that. Cat Linlin fits snugly and hits the original position on her chest with a knife. What a fool, Bubble disdains me. All you can touch is my dandruff, all you can do is watch me leave suddenly, I don't know what shot into Cat Linlin's body from my own dandruff. Because there is too little knowledge, I am very familiar with what I have seen before. Understand what happened, it should be that one's pursuer ran away, feeling insulted. This may be a remnant of human nature. He let out an angry roar, in order to escape from me, you dare to disguise yourself as a part of me. Do you have the patience to come back? I curse, and it was time for him. Cat Linlin only maintains a clear consciousness of protecting Luo, and in a daze, her consciousness of protecting Luo is pulled into the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, violent energy appears in black and white. The fierce aura envelopes the consciousness of protecting the Luo, with a murderous aura. A beautiful woman wearing a red veil, sitting out of thin air, with red iris and pupils, white hair and skin, and a bare foot slightly raised, formed a slightly bizarre non-mainstream beauty image. A body that conforms to the golden ratio everywhere erases this strangeness and leaves room for surplus. A mysterious and charming face can give full marks from any angle. The mysterious aura subtly breaks through the score limit, and if a man with aesthetic concepts walks in, he is afraid that his thoughts will be erased by his beauty and become his puppet. The red and white beauty, knowing her charm, crossed her legs and said, I have appeared in front of you. Thank you, Aunt. If it weren't for your weakness, you wouldn't have had the chance to glimpse my face. As a reward, I will accept your fate. She shook her bare feet and said, now, you can kiss it and be grateful for tears. This is my greatest kindness to humanity. How can the omniscient and unknown body be defeated by the ignorant hand, and the mysterious red and white beauty face reality with a protective Luo consciousness and win? As expected, although Luo consciousness looked at the red and white beauty, he kept muttering to himself, ignoring her words. Red and white beauties, as a mysterious embodiment of the world, never pay attention to humans. No matter where, human thought is meaningless, and their fate is clearly visible. Their upper limit of wisdom and lower limit of foolishness are stuck together, and if not carefully examined, one would think that these two overlap. Now that someone is so arrogant, has their proud and mysterious aura failed? Very likely. I am very ugly. The red and white beauty wanted to tell a lie to check if she had broken free from the constraints of the rules. She opened her mouth and found that she couldn't say anything. Is it because I cannot lie and am bound by the rules, or is my sincerity unbreakable? The red and white beauty fell into deep contemplation. Sure enough, the human body is too small to even recognize oneself. Once accustomed to mystery, it becomes less mysterious, and the consciousness of Luo gradually unfolds and returns to complete consciousness. The black and white aura before my eyes was swirling, and I almost wouldn't have recognized it unless I was very familiar with it. This place is so unfamiliar. This is your origin, and everything about you starts from here, the red and white beauty regrouped. I am, if something bad happens, I am the embodiment of the unknown rules. The most famous ones are mystery and unknown, and there are countless unnamed human beings. How can I say that? I am a human now, and humans cannot speak languages other than humans. I can't lie anymore. The limits of humanity are too disappointing. Inexplicable loss entangles me. Looking at the ever-changing pretty face in front of me, I understand why Xianxia is filled with joy when looking at herself. This is truly a visual feast. Chapter 7. I the final say my things. You are listening at novelfull.audio. By the way, I already know what you are, Mao Linlin swore confidently. You are the embodiment of my inner desires, right? Foolish mortal, what are you talking nonsense about? Your magnanimity cannot tolerate me at all. According to your standards, I am an evil god. After a pause, he looked at Cat Linlin and found his face solemn. Ah, mortal. Are you scared? The majesty of God cannot be ignored, and one has always been so self-disciplined both internally and externally. He doesn't deserve to cast his bestowed gaze on mortals anymore. Shaking his bare feet, he said, do you understand what I mean? Now kneel down and kiss it, and I grant you permission for your blasphemy. Not to mention how there could be foreign objects in my origin, not to mention that the person in front of me has no strength and feels inferior to the red-clothed lowly, nor to mention that this woman is only a bit mysterious, beautiful, and has a beautiful voice. What else is she worth paying attention to? Where is the majesty of God, where is his aura, and where is his power? If she has no reliance, and she has such inexplicable confidence, it is somewhat abnormal. Based on her own cultivation and reading of scriptures, combined with the theory of origin, Cat Linlin thought of her way out. So he walked forward, knelt on one knee, and slowly picked up his delicate jade feet. Pressing down the desire in her heart, Cat Linlin once again defeated herself. Good skin, no, I mean, if you're an evil god, then the problem is here. Cat Linlin looked into her eyes and asked, according to what you said, what am I as the lord of this place? The red and white beauty pursed her lips and said, kiss me quickly, I don't want to wait anymore. It was just a ceremony, and you, who are already on the desk, still want to resist. After speaking, he pressed his bare feet towards Cat Linlin's lips. It's so beautiful, isn't it? Don't you think it's dirty? Cat Linlin blushed. What is the situation? What is the situation with him? The red and white beauties are a bit anxious, is there a mistake in the ceremony? Squeeze your bare feet hard into Cat Linlin's mouth. A long time has passed, and the red and white beauties are so disgusted that they shake their feet hard. It seems that I am already a turtle in a jar. It's a pity that I thought I had already beaten the yellow dragon and was picking the fruits of victory. Shame on oneself. Once an opportunity is missed, it never comes back. It seems that the person in front of you is your future cage. Is there a complete egg under the cover of the nest? The trend that has already merged cannot be changed, and it seems that I will no longer have the ability to escape. Looking at someone staring blankly at their calves in front of me, I couldn't help but feel sad and very pessimistic about my future. My always free self has finally been restrained. I didn't expect it to be this kind of outcome. Tingting stood elegantly and politely, and with a gentle smile, she said to Cat Linlin, you are my master now, master. Thank you for taking care of me in the future. Taking advantage of Cat Linlin's lack of understanding of the rules of the spiritual world, she waved her hand and exiled him from his origin. It seems that you have saved your two treasures. Congratulations. Cat Linlin saw the dean's plain face before his eyes, which was quite durable. I am the residual consciousness of this world and cannot provide you with any help, so I am truly grateful to you for overcoming his conspiracy and preserving your own destiny. I should be grateful to you. If it weren't for your series of exaggerated actions that portrayed the image of local residents, I wouldn't have noticed it either. The dean fell silent for a moment and said, I'm not the person in front of you. I just noticed that you only have a strong impression of this person in this world, so I used his appearance to talk to you. Well, I protected you, that's undeniable, right? So should you make a statement? Mao Linlin turned his face mercilessly. Just now it wasn't okay, why is it like this now? The dean's world was surprised, you humans are really strange. I can go to you, it's really heartwarming that you don't give me any compensation, right? Don't say there's no reward, even if there's me, I won't give you anything. Disrupting his plan is just a condition for your survival. Don't take any advantage, mortal. I know. Cat Linlin stopped as soon as she saw the improvement. Roaring at the world is really exciting, I've been wanting to do it for a long time. The dean's world chuckled and said, you're really interesting. Scratch the skin with your hand and apply blood to Cat Linlin's forehead. Your credit has brought changes to this lifeless world. Let me share a portion of my benefits with you. Don't thank me, this is my insignificant gratitude. Cat Linlin's eyes darkened and his consciousness returned. The world has changed, fortunately the little one is still by his side. Okay, the matter has been resolved, don't pretend to be dead, she said, patting her head as she picked up the Chow Dao robe that had been changed onto her red dress. After listening, Hongyi felt a faint sense of disappointment in her heart. Open your eyes and say, boss, where is this? Stupid, it's clearly a wilderness, I can't even see it. Holding up Red Clothes hugged Cat Linlin's neck with both hands, pouting, if you don't want to say it, why don't you scold me? This is a nickname, just like I call Bald, he said with a smile. Poochie, this is different, okay? Cat Linlin's red-clothed smile in his eyes appeared somewhat seductive, extremely beautiful, and he really wanted to watch it for a lifetime. What does it mean to be bald and bald-like? I even said it's like Linlin. Sure, anyway you didn't bring me the apprentice tea, it's the same no matter how you call it. Cat Linlin unconsciously indulged in Red Clothes. Red E heard it and felt sweet in her heart. She liked it so much and said, what if I had given her apprentice tea back then? Some longing bloomed in her heart. Do fools think there was apprentice tea at that time? This sentence had a different meaning in the ears of Red Clothes. It turned out that the boss had been there since then. Cat Linlin looked at the blushing lowly and suddenly realized, don't think I'm criticizing you, I'm just reminding you of your thinking loopholes. You know everyone has different limits, and I still hope you can guide me in the future. I will definitely do it. I held Cat Linlin's neck in my left arm and clenched my fist in my right hand, looking confident. I hope so, he said without hesitation. Walking on a small path in the wilderness, Cat Linlin recalled a senior immortal named Snake and Scorpion, who said, where there is a way, there is a way. Some ways go without doing anything, while others go without paying a price. As expected, seniors are seniors, and what they say makes sense. Even a few words can bring endless benefits to people. Mao Linlin was stopped by a group of skeletons while holding a red dress. The spiritual energy in this world is thin, isn't it that all the spiritual energy in the secret realm is thin? Cat Linlin casually took out his precious sword and scattered the skeletons one by one amidst the laughter of eating in the Red Clothes. The skull is weaker than a mortal, but it can still move freely after chopping its skull, as if it has no effect. Watching the last headless skull slowly follow me, soon it shattered to the ground. Cat Linlin came to the conclusion that a person without a head cannot do it, and a skull without a head will eventually shatter to the ground. Very good, after roughly understanding the characteristics of a skull. Mao Linlin hugged her Red Clothes and decided to find a place to settle down. Although it is possible to avoid human activities after building a foundation, the intake of spiritual energy is still necessary. Spiritual energy does not enter the body of individuals with cultivation on its own. Fortunately, I have achieved the golden elixir and can convert my spiritual power into spiritual energy for Red Clothes to absorb. Otherwise, Red Clothes would have to meditate and practice all day long. Is this a good way to cultivate one's character? Watching the sleeping cat in red, Linlin fell deeply into contemplation. When did she sleep? Can she sleep so beautifully? Did she do it intentionally? Do you want to see me make a fool of myself? Hee, you're too tender. No matter what, Mao Linlin's decision to become a righteous gentleman never changed. Thinking to myself, let's not break the law. Thought is our innate talent as the spiritual beings of all things. How can we abandon it due to choking? Abandoning our thoughts is no different from animals. Well, this is also a warning from Senior Xiantu. It makes sense, and I have realized it again. The senior is truly a senior. Cat Linlin's character seems to have improved by another layer. If it continues like this, it's just a matter of hope for a primordial baby. One day, he may even be able to transform his spirit, achieve Mahayana, cross calamity, and ascend. It's really gratifying to congratulate Coca-Cola. Sure enough, Grandpa, I have secretly conspired with you. Spread the spiritual energy in the air and glide forward low, like a fairy walking in the wind. Yufeng can only be achieved during the period of primordial baby at least, and he still occupies the empty space of the sparse spiritual energy around him. But without spiritual energy, it's different. Only higher cultivation can support its jet flight. Strange, where did I know about jet flying? The red and white beauty in the root is speechless. It's so boring. When did he come in? Humph, the human nature is just a small loneliness that the gods can overcome. Red and white beauties close their eyes and feel sleepy. Fairy, it's a fairy. A unique barbarian discovered an incredible figure in the camp at the village entrance. Although longing for it, after experiencing many barbarians, they do not intend to associate with it. They already have a path to upgrade and only want to exercise their physical fitness and spiritual world, and form a territory to protect their village as soon as possible. This is the only young but unassuming barbarian nearby. I hope he will be safe throughout his life. Cat Linlin suddenly realized that she seemed to have a rough sense of the thoughts and activities of the barbarian youth, and the fate of their possible future hardships. Upon careful consideration, this is not the result of defeating that red and white beauty's heart demon, is it? It's really unbelievable. Cat Linlin stood at the village campsite and repeatedly experimented, only to find that it had no effect. It's probably an illusion. The red and white beauty flipped over at the root. Wild monsters roam freely, and the importance of the village campsite as an outpost to protect the village can be imagined. The barbarian boy ran into the camp and reported the incident to the camp's commander. The barbarian officer listened and let out a roar in the center of the camp. The newly recruited soldiers who came to inquire were arranged neatly, and several veterans stood behind the camp commander holding flags to guard. We have 150 people, and there is only one enemy. This battle is bound to win. I told you, don't worry about pain in war. In an instant, you can be reborn and become a member of the wild monster. Think about everything else then, boys, let go of your worries, barbarians, never back down. After speaking, raise the warning flag in the center of the camp. Warning flag. After raising, notify the relevant main city that a war has occurred here. Chapter 8. Barbarians and Carved Ghosts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Cat Linlin, who wanted to settle down here, already knew that he had been regarded as an enemy by the camp commander. However, after all, they are all intelligent beings, what reason cannot be discussed? Okay, there are many reasons. The campsite commander led the crowd to stand in front of Mei Linlin, carefully observing and questioning without any results, are you a deity of the human race or a birdman? The person in front of me has a pure temperament, unknown strength but seems to have no understanding of the realm. I don't think they are enemy heroes, and the wings of an angel can be folded up, it cannot be confirmed whether they are or not. He has a mysterious appearance, there is no such temperament among the divine and human races. The child in my arms has even lower strength, apart from delicate skin and good looks, there is nothing else to care about. I have long heard that there are literary scumbags among the human race, and today I see that it is indeed so. My barbarian tribe has a simple and honest customs. You can grab whatever you want. If the person in front of you is either an angel or a delivery person, lowly is a gift from our ancestors. When they grow up, won't it be okay? He, the barbarian boy quickly said to the camp chief, I've told you before, he flew over. Young man, even a priest can fly. After speaking, he raised his hand and pointed to the crowd, blessed by our ancestors. Ancestors' blessing. War magic, boosts morale, and keeps the victim's combat power unchanged during the war, maintaining it for 3 rounds. Give it to me, after Lowly grabs it, each person will use it for 3 days. But I didn't say when to give it to you. The camp chief gave a satisfying order. Xiaoyulai is in a miserable situation. The barbarian boy has some sympathy, but more of it is longing. After dying in the field, he is randomly resurrected in the wilderness. The pain makes the barbarian stronger, and I am fearless. I just hope that when it's little Loli's turn, she won't spoil it, but there are also benefits to spoiling it. The words of the camp chief made everyone eager to try, and the red clothes woke up at some point. Looking at the naked gazes of the crowd, he seemed a bit scared. He hugged the master's neck tightly and squeezed his body into his arms. Linlin, will you help me, right? He pitifully pouted and blinked, asking. Cat Linlin slightly hugged the red clothes with his left hand, looking at the barbarians in disgust. A group of disgusting scumbags still wanted to point fingers at me, disciple. It's really wishful thinking. He furrowed his eyebrows tightly and held the sword technique with his right hand. His spiritual power was working hard inside, surrounded by a whirlwind of spiritual energy. The black clouds in the sky gathered with a pressure on the city, and he whispered, thunder of snake and scorpion. Snake and scorpion's thunder. Not for killing enemies, but for defeating them first. The middle person's body is paralyzed, and the effect increases with the increase of spiritual power input. The thunder of the snake and scorpion is the ultimate skill of Master Xiantu, and its Taoist name is derived from it. Although the senior was selfless and did not seek anything in return, he was published in the Tianji Daily. However, due to his extremely high talent and mental nature required for cultivation, there were only a few learners. So it makes sense for Mao Linlin to consciously cast pearls before pearls. The effect has weakened a lot, but there are still black clouds brewing for miles around. With a low cry from Cat Linlin, hundreds of lightning bolts rushed towards the heads of the crowd, like thunder on earth. Under the baptism of lightning, everyone was paralyzed, only to pull their necks and slaughter. Reddy felt the anger in Mao Linlin's heart, holding her arms around Mao Linlin's neck, her chest tightly pressed against Lin Linlin's, feeling Lin Linlin's intense heartbeat, and couldn't help but appreciate the male and female groups in the forest. After returning, I burned the chi cultivation method that they longed for to them. If it weren't for their foolishness to expose my whereabouts, how could I have met the master craftsman? What a living lunar old who sacrificed his life to guide us. If the moon elder who sacrificed his life had knowledge under the spring, he would probably be grateful for fulfilling their cultivation expectations, right? Red-clothed foolishly smiled. Mao Linlin took out Tang Dao from the ring and connected his spiritual power with it, feeling like he was using his hands and fingers. Release your hand. Tang Dao flew to the camp commander's side with his heart, picking him up. Dead in war will randomly be reborn on the map, so what about after ending the war? Cat Linlin didn't want to verify it, so he suppressed his desire to kill him directly. Tang Dao picked him up and followed behind Cat Linlin. Cat Linlin controlled his spiritual energy and glided towards the nearest known wild monster group. Throw the culprit from the sky into the group of stone statues and ghosts, watching as he is torn apart and smeared all over the ground. Cat Linlin can leave with peace of mind. If this method of death can still be revived, he will be powerless. Then he tirelessly sent the remaining enemies one by one to decorate the storefront of the stone statue ghost community. The stone statue ghosts sincerely thanked Tang Dao for the gift he sent. These are all former enemies. They feel that they, who are both resurrected from the dead, cannot weaken their reputation. How can they not respond to Tang Dao's gift? The stone statue ghosts still have their own persistence. They unanimously believe in inheriting the glory of the community, but they are as poor as a church mouse, with nothing but each other in the community. However, freedom is never cheap, and they do not want to lose companions for gifts. So what should we do? Stone statue ghost. Crafted by alchemists or demons specializing in alchemy, it has a hard texture and is difficult to damage with spells. It is afraid of blunt attacks and requires long-term maintenance. The stone statue ghosts decided to teach Tang Dao the magic to maintain themselves. The leaders of the stone statue ghosts were teaching hand-in-hand online, watching Tang Dao slowly release repair spells. The stone statue ghosts let out joyful roars and danced in the air. Cat Linlin controlled Tang Dao to release the first spell from a different world. Similarly, isn't it expected to release more spells? Cat Linlin decided to find an opportunity to learn about the knowledge of the other world. The red and white beauty in the root continued to flip over. Cat Linlin knows that knowledge is priceless, how can he take advantage of others at will? Decided to enlighten them. Qi Ling created by the Elder of Xiantu. Permanent enhancement of dead objects, with different enhancement effects for each realm. The stone statue ghosts watched Tang Dao gesturing beside them. This slender new friend wouldn't be overjoyed, would he? It seems very joyful. The stone statues and ghosts flew even more happily. Finally, after multiple attempts, Kai Ling succeeded. The stone statue ghosts have simple thinking and feel that their strength has increased again, almost at the same time deciding to keep it. Be one of us. Cat Linlin controlled Tang Dao and found that the stone statue ghosts were flying at such a fast speed that even if they consumed their remaining spiritual power, they could not shake them far away. Watching the number of statue ghosts exceed 100, Cat Linlin weighed her own portion. I noticed that the effect was weakened a lot when I cast the spell just now. Is it difficult for oneself to fight against a group of stones? This is not asking for trouble. If it had been in the past, Mao Linlin would have dared to take a risk, but now his life is not just his own. I looked at the red clothes sleeping in my arms. Oh, so you love my body so much. You just hug me and pretend to sleep. Why do you dare not admit it? What a fool. I have already seen through it, but I just won't say anything. I have decided not to suffer losses, and I will also hold her when I sleep in the future. If you refuse, it's just a beating. If not, my bamboo thread wouldn't have been prepared in vain. Oh, by the way, I'm not ready yet. Can't this red dress be the one who ate me right before doing this? Oh, childish, I want to hit you, just have hands. Can you still refuse? After thinking about her tender skin again, Cat Linlin couldn't bear it. I'll take it lightly. After controlling Tang Dao with high mental tension, the sensory impact brought by the delicate body in red clothes was unprecedentedly strong. But what kind of person is Mao Linlin? Wei Guangzheng's son. How could a gentleman be attracted to Loli's attention? Cat Linlin looked at the group of stone statues and ghosts without straying his gaze, but his arms slightly hugged each other. I'm afraid she might accidentally fall off after falling asleep, Wei Guangzheng explained to his dirty heart in a righteous manner. Damn it, humans indeed have cognitive impairments. Mao Linlin held the red clothes in his arms, full of righteousness, and came up with a solution. He fled while riding on the stone statues, but the ghosts did not notice him and the red clothes. Mao Linlin first flew to the extreme distance where he could contact Tang Dao with his aura. Control Tang Dao to thrust one end into the soil. My lord, what's wrong with this new friend? Is this another way for him to express his agreement? Looking at the Tang Dao that had penetrated into the soil, the stone statue ghosts looked at each other and remained indifferent for a while. After a while, the leader of the stone statue ghosts threw the soil and found nothing. Have you seen your new friends by gesturing to the surrounding peers? The stone statues and ghosts looked at each other with indifference. Cat Linlin collected the Tang sword that had been dug out of the soil. Flying towards the barbarian camp, feeling damp and uncomfortable, I lowered my head. Red clothes fell asleep, her saliva smeared on her shoulder. Use spiritual power to remove moisture and close the mouth of the red clothes. A distribution map of checkpoints at this border was found in the camp. Not detailed. Cat Linlin flew towards the human stronghold and saw various creatures on the way. They gathered in a pile, some weak and some strong. Some are as bizarre as the birds and people in front of us. Hey buddy, you're building a team, take me with you. Your Excellency. I am an archangel, said a strong man with blonde hair, blue eyes, and whiskers, holding a flame-fried dough twist sword and waving wings. You can call me Victor Ura de Circumum. I'll call you Vic, please call me Victor, thank you. Vic, why are you following me? It's abnormal. What are your intentions? After seeing you from a distance, this archangel deeply felt destined. Don't you want to become a hero? Also, call me Victor, otherwise you would be enemies with me. Okay, Victor. Why do you see me as destined? Archangels can sense human nature, and I really like you. Anyway, sooner or later you have to choose someone to follow, why not choose you instead? Is it beneficial for me to follow me? And what is my nature? I can't answer, so just die here. Taking out the knife, he warned, you don't have to do that. If you don't have an army to follow you when you arrive at the main city, you will lose your hero qualification. It seems that you have to thank me. As for nature, Archangel Vic shook his fried dough twist-shaped one-handed sword and motioned to the red coat, don't you know? You can speak frankly. Cough cough, you haven't realized yet. If I say it out loud, it won't have a good outcome for you. After all, it's the first time I've seen such a complex Wei Guangzheng. Didn't you already say it? I didn't directly say, the interpretation of this sentence can be diverse, it depends on how you think. Victor, lead me to the main city. I want to be quiet. Put away the knife. Chapter 9. Hand Blade. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mao Linlin stood at the entrance of the main city, holding a red coat. The tall city wall in front of him was composed of numerous square stones, and a small moat surrounded the main stadium, which covered only 2 square kilometers. The city gate opened wide, and on either side stood knights with heavy armor, their steel spears reflecting the light of the sun, causing eye pain. Let Cat Linlin think of Bai Ji and hope that the bald man is doing well. After all, I was implicated by myself. Brother Zadie, do you like the magic image driver? The Archangel can drag the relationship to give you a whole set, but the cost can't be ambiguous. Victor extinguished the flame twined on the fried dough twist sword, unfolded a wing, and put the fried dough twist sword on the wing folding and stretching place to rub back and forth. If you want to talk about the magic image driver, it's really awesome. Only 200 might defeat me. Compared to the strength of the Archangel, I am a bit stronger. I am stronger than 100 statue ghosts. So, a stone statue ghost can defeat at least 3 magic statue drivers. So why don't I go and use Tang Dao to make the stone statue ghost group, but choose the magic statue driver? No need, Cat Linlin replied firmly. Red Clothes woke up when she met the Archangel. At this time, Lori watched the sky use the fried dough twist's one-handed sword to cut the wings. As soon as the child's mind became active, he couldn't stop the car and said, Uncle Vic, look at your sword, he's even in tears. What's your name, Uncle? Although I'm young, I can actually be your grandfather at my age. How could this sword shed tears? Also, please call me Victor, thank you. Victor means stupid, don't call it a person. The Archangel Victor continued to toss and turn his other wing, looking at Cat Linlin. Brother, if an angel is willing to show someone their wings or hand them over to us, it means they will confess or be loyal to the other person. As he spoke, he flapped his wings and flew into the city. Follow up quickly, don't scatter. Cat Linlin smiled, trying not to misunderstand himself. Victor was just expressing his desire to be loyal. Being old and never dying is a thief, and the ancients never deceived me. The sentence, if the sword doesn't shed tears, how could the flames on it go out for no reason, was held in my mouth and couldn't be said. So aggrieved, so disappointed, so shameful. Reddy leaned her head against Cat Linlin's shoulder, seeking comfort. Linlin, isn't my prank really bad? Have you forgotten your essence? Cat Linlin patted her back. You still have a lot of room for improvement, and isn't it me? Hee, this is a heartfelt confession, right? I have seen through it, you definitely have me in your heart. Red clothes indicate that they have seen through everything. In that case, the little woman will entrust her whole life to you. Hong Yi looked up at Mao Linlin's expression without blinking. Decide that if he has any abnormal behavior, he will speak up in one breath. Emotional matters must move forward without hesitation, otherwise the person in front of you may be taken away by other seductive and cheap people. Cat Linlin's heart kept beating and accelerating, with almost continuous beats. Okay, if your personality and appearance don't disgust me in the future, you will always be my person, the man said with a serious expression at this moment. But when you were young, it may not be the case anymore. If time has shaped you beyond recognition, you will always be my disciple. I will definitely satisfy you in the future, said Hong Yi confidently. She hugged Mao Linlin's neck and buried her face in his neck. No one saw the loneliness in her expression. Damn master, you really don't understand human hearts. Cat Linlin followed slowly behind the archangel, her gaze wandering aimlessly, disregarding the admiration of mortals beneath her and ignoring the barracks scattered throughout the small town. Just take a look at the floating clouds and dogs, the flowers and plants, and the little person in your arms. My heart is full of ups and downs, unable to withstand the past turmoil. It is known that the sudden confession of Hong Yi had an unprecedented impact on him. Big brother, the Archangel Victor flew to the ground, reignited the flame on the fried dough twist sword, and spread his wings. He looks quite solemn when he looks serious. This is the projection of the gate of heaven, and you can declare here. I swear that as a voter of order, I will always be at odds with the lackeys of chaos. This is just a formality, don't worry. After all, when you become a hero, you will be an enemy in the eyes of chaos. If you don't find him, he will find you. Victor Archangel's behavior has darkened heaven. The way of heaven is good for reincarnation, who has been spared by heaven. Everyone must remember their lesson, otherwise they will reap the consequences. Just like the person in front of me. Who dares to act wildly here? A coquettish cry accompanied the entity of the heaven gate as it descended. I am Gabriel, the guardian of the heaven gate. The evil obstacle must die. A white shockwave rushed straight towards Cat Linlin. This person has an amazing aura, how can he attack weak and powerless? The red and white beauty in the root lies in the air, grabbing the fierce aura of black and white with both hands upwards. It's so boring, she casually kneaded her anger and created black and white clouds, indulging herself. Rua, you crazy woman. What are you doing hitting me for? I'm Victor. The archangel fiercely defended the mother angel with 4 wings in front of him. Are you sleeping too much, stupid? If you don't stop, don't let others see you laughing. Ha, you depraved angel scumbag, I hit you. Gabriel had a fierce look in his eyes, his messy short hair fluttering wildly, and he wielded a spear that kept his moves focused. When I send you to heaven, you can speak. Victor won't go anywhere, I'll play in the mortal world. This is what Big Brother allows, don't lose face with an angel. The archangel continued to fight desperately, gradually losing his ability to fight back. I'm sorry, you depraved angel scumbag. How dare you say it? Look at me smashing your mouth, said Gabriel as he thrust a spear at the archangel's leg. The Victor Archangel, who fell to the ground, said indignantly, you lied, you fell. Before the fallen angel scum could finish speaking, Gabriel shot and shattered the archangel's head. Oh, haven't I fulfilled my promise now? Gabriel sneered as he looked at the body beneath his feet. Trim your golden short hair, straighten your light armor and armored battle dress, turn around, and smile, saying, hello Chaos Incarnation, I hope you don't repeat the mistakes of your predecessors. Are you calling the gate of heaven to change your profession and return to the glory of heaven? Please tell me your answer, and I will serve you here. Hello Gabriel, it's Victor Ray. Dake Shuekamu who called you, I'm sorry to bother you. Let's leave now. The power of my blade companions is too terrifying, so I'll go find the statue ghosts and make a decision. Handsome guy, don't leave. I apologize for my rudeness to you, little sister. I shouldn't have scared you. Just forgive me. Looking at the mother angel holding her spear in front of her chest, with a faint six-pointed magic formation gathered behind her, Cat Linlin held her red clothes and made no comment. Little sister, we have no grudges or grievances, you can let us go. Red-clothed Loli pouted and blinked her eyes, pleading with her. Chapter 10. Companions. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Her empty thoughts, little one, once again reminded Cat Linlin that education is a century-long plan that cannot be implemented without early implementation. If in the future, he discovers that Red Clothes has unconsciously betrayed himself due to his foolishness. So, what should I do at that time? Forgive her. This is really a difficult problem. The hand holding the red clothes tightened tightly, ready to prevent those in front of him who were extremely vicious and wielding swords from committing murder. Inject spiritual power into the Tang sword and silently recite the 12-character policy of, if the enemy doesn't move, I won't move. If the enemy wants to move, I will move first. Exploring, he said, what kind of chaotic incarnation? You're mistaken. I'm not from this realm, I'm just a cultivator. How can I let the guardian of the heavenly gate hang in my heart? Lord Gabriel, let me go. Little sister is really good at talking, unlike someone who speaks benevolently and morally but doesn't do anything. Gabriel widened his eyes and walked up to look at Cat Linlin. The wicked haven't let go yet, do you want to threaten us with her? At this moment, behind Gabriel holding a spear, the heavenly gate splashed with waves, and a group of angels holding single-handed swords and shields crossed the door. Very good, it has completely become meat on their cushion. Leaving the embrace in red clothes, Gabriel took it over. Before leaving her embrace, Hongyi whispered, I'm waiting for you. Wait for a hammer, I'll run away with you long ago. Mao Linlin sensed and knew that he couldn't beat them no matter what, so he decided to listen to their intentions first. Now please stand up and come forward. If you do, you will be a traitor to the chaos side. Please think carefully, said Gabriel, the four-winged angel holding a spear, with a sincere expression on his face. If it's true, please don't be eager to try the group of muscle sticks behind you, and come talk to me again. Cat Linlin ignored the muscle bars around him and watched as Gabriel stood in front of the designated position, holding the red clothes, feeling no danger in stepping on them. The gate of heaven emitted a straight white light, enveloping the Cat Linlin. Surrounded by muscle bars forming a shield formation, Cat Linlin felt uncomfortable. Is this the Tucheong dagger scene? When the white light dissipated, Cat Linlin looked expressionless at the muscle sticks, unsure of what to say. It seems like there was a mistake, that's good, team up. The muscle sticks breathed a clear sigh of relief as they rearranged their formation and walked into the gate of heaven. The red clothes were carried in the air by Gabriel's magic. Gabriel held a spear in his left hand and handed the two wings on his right to Mao Linlin. Please take good care of me in the future, I am your guide. He remembered what Archangel Vic had said, I accept your loyalty. He touched his wings and his left hand tingled. An abstract wing pattern appears in the palm of the left hand. No matter which world you go to in the future, you can inject energy into your palm to summon me. Also, Bai Jieli walked up to him and said in his ear, your nature is very interesting, I really like it. Please take care of me in the future. He smiled and blinked as he walked towards the gate of heaven. Cat Linlin hesitated for a moment and said, you wouldn't just leave without paying any price, would you? He felt incredulous. Are you looking for a draw? The four-winged angel with a spear puzzled and also felt incredulous. That fallen angel scumbag didn't tell you, did I never show mercy to outsiders? No need for Archangel Vic to say that I also see that you treat your companions the same way. Mao Linlin remembered the terror she had dominated. Sir, I don't mean that. I just want to know about my faction and where the distribution of heaven is, to ensure that I can serve at any time. Mao Linlin's righteous words. Put the spear back to your left hand and release the combat readiness. Gabriel said, except for the Creator, no one is eternal. Everyone changes, and you are still in the investigation period. I cannot tell you the specifics, but the details of this world can be told. Licking his lips, he continued, this world is the result of multiple dead worlds pieced together, producing many incredible rules. For example, no one dies in military warfare. But it will appear intact in the wilderness, even broken weapons. This world is a training factory and headquarters of multiple cross-world organizations. Kind reminder, our heaven's headquarters is not here. Alright, I have said everything I can say. Just leave, don't give Cat Linlin a chance to speak. Mao Linlin picked up the red clothes and said, in the future, I may become a trader among cultivators, which he held in his chest. Linlin, aren't we originally people of the demon cult? Suddenly, I realized that my tone was smooth. Everyone was already shouting and fighting, so why not have another one? Suddenly remembered Victor Archangel. Turning to search for his body, after all, we met and wanted to bury him, but we couldn't find it no matter what. Will it really go to heaven? Cat Linlin let go of the boulder in her heart, and now it's about heroes. Serious and serious, he said, I hereby declare that as a voter of order, I swear to always be at odds with the lackeys of chaos. Countless gazes gathered around him, and the ubiquitous ringing of bells and cheers in the town echoed in his ears. The black and white air spreads out, with black clouds and white clouds floating inside, forming a spherical field that is generally white above and black below. The red and white beauties sat on the clouds above their heads, a pair of bare feet swaying back and forth in front of the Cat Linlin. Suddenly grabbing each hand and looking up, my face turned red and I stared straight at the eyes of the red and white beauty, feeling a lack of confidence. Why are you here? What are you? The same demon won't appear twice. The red and white beauty chuckled playfully. Oh, I am the condensation of your inner desires, paused, turned her face, and lifted her beautiful white hair. Am I beautiful? She gave him a flash of lightning. The smashed Cat Linlin's eyes were dazzling. Red clothes tightly hugged Cat Linlin's neck and said, Bastard Linlin, forget when you see the color, me. Do you have the guts to throw me directly? Then he glared fiercely at the seductive slut surrounded by black and white clouds. I said there must be scumbags competing with me for Linlin. The red and white beauty endured waves of itching and slowly withdrew her feet from her hand, controlling the clouds that supported her to descend. With one foot caressing the man's lower abdomen, he watched with satisfaction as his breathing deepened and his eyes lit up with green light. Humph, how could the previous evil god make a mistake? My beauty is still moving, and my mystery is still full of attraction. Wait, the former seems to be enough to intimidate the person in front of you. So, where does mystery manifest? The man in front of me has already become familiar with me, so I can only seek certification from others. But will he let me go? He will never let himself be free if he doesn't mention or do it. After all, the roots merge into one, with both prosperity and loss. And my beauty is unparalleled in the world. If he sees me, he will only fall in love with me in his lifetime. The impatient clamor of small things is really noisy. After thinking about it, he exerted force on his other foot and kicked lowly down. Cat Linlin ignored and turned a blind eye.